Good morning, guys. It's me, 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐴, and today I've been thinking what to show you guys, and I decided to start new series. New series by, let's say, request of many of you. It's going to be regarding calculation. It's going to be regarding technique of calculation, technique of making decisions. Obviously, there is many books, many softwares, many sources which will teach you already and showing to you what to do, how to improve, all this stuff. I'll try to do my best to explain all those moments which, by my opinion, haven't described in those sources, and try to give you again some insight look for most important problems, which will help you out to improve your searching mode, to improve your area on which you can make a right decision. Again, what's going on when we deal with calculation? So obviously many things is going to help you out to improve your calculation. Yes, we're mentioning about move candidates, we're mentioning about combinational vision, prophylaxis, elimination process, all those things you can, let's say, keep finding in many sources. I'll do a little bit different. I'll start to teach you with a little bit different angles. So the very first I'd like to talk is going to be obviously move candidates. And very first position which I prepared for you, it's based on from the game Grandmaster Alexander versus 𝐴𝐵 back to 1936. Let's take a look at that position for a second. Let's try to understand what are we dealing with. Again, I always said to my students, I always said in our lectures, even most wild position could be simply explained and could be simply find some logic inside. Always remember this. Before you start actual calculation, you always must understand what are you playing for, what's going on. So finding all ideas, knowing what are you playing for, it's going to be helping you to understand what to play. All right then, let's talk about this particular position. Black has two extra pawns. We're dealing with, we call this major pieces endgame. In those kind of situations, priority always goes to situation around the king, and then having passed pawns. So in this case particular, black dealing with tremendous pressure by white on g7 pawn. So clearly. So let's see if anything we can do. Very first impression, which hits your eyes, is to make a check. And you're saying, all right, probably white king will choose g2, just because diagonal is protected by queen, and black queen will not bother, right? So we choose this just because we're trying to save the pawn. So this is like a very natural move candidate, which kind of hitting your eyes. You're saying, all right, that's the number one move candidate. Number two, what else could be done here? Since we're dealing with this triple battery, right? And we're dealing with pressure on g7 pawn. So this is called direct defense. You're dealing with defending your g7 pawn with directing way, a straight way. Second is saying, all right, what if I try to trade? What looks like I'm going to win in case if white will take on g7, I'm going to capture, he's going to capture, I'm going to capture, he's going to capture, and I'm done, I'm winning, easy money. Well, that's going to be second choice. And I guess number three choice, if we talk about still some kind of indirecting, maybe rook d5. I mean, it looks like interesting. Rook d5, whites could be interesting because if you think about, we have very funny threat, queen b1 check. Now, king h2 loses because rook h5 check, followed by mate. King g2 loses because queen e4 check. And unfortunately, white wouldn't have that much defense here because I don't see how you're going to play in this position. So after queen e4 check, definitely you're in trouble. Oh, by the way, maybe even better version. After rook d5, I can take first. Let's say rook g7. I can take first here, rook g7, and then follow queen b1 check. That's even better, because now clearly you're in trouble. And now, no matter how you play, I can actually play here rook h5, and what's going on? I defend my h7 pawn. It's a mate in one, and no matter how you play, you will make a check. I'm going to pick up your rook on g7, and game is over. So looks like we had at least 3 move candidate. Maybe we have a 4. We don't know yet. But what is going to be the right path? What is going to be the right move? How to understand that? All right. Well, we're always saying this. Okay, our primary problem is g7 pawn, right? Yes. So it means our, let's say, our concern must be to defend that pawn first. It means queen b1 and queen g6 must be number 1. So let's see what's going on in this case. Queen b1, we're checking. What's going to be? Queen b1, check. King g2, we defend. Well, white has no attack on g7 pawn, but white has simply moved rook cd7. And now I don't think so we have a chance to win a game, because white rook's simply protecting d pawn, and in case you can't run d3, I'm going to play queen d5, attacking d8, attacking d3. Pretty much this game is going to be drawn very soon. Shall we check this line one more time? If you have a time on your clock, you could. But if not, then you have to trust your calculation and simply put this file away, put this line away. All right, well, secondly, we discussed about ideas of playing queen d5. But unfortunately, if you play queen d5, black will simply capture and play the same defensive idea again. Now we can't play rook d8 because we're going to get mated. Here we realize, by the way, our minor problem by having issues with back rank. And if you take it here, I don't think so you will ever be able to win this endgame, even being down. Even having extra pawn. I don't think so. That's in reality you can actually win this endgame. I guess we're down with line number 2. Well, let's see this tricky line, rook d5. Well, usually I tell you what. Usually when you're dealing with problem here clearly your g7 pawn, you have to find a way which will direct defend your pawn. Always remember this. Direct defend your problem. So most of the times, if you, let's say, check percentage, how many times your direct way will help you out and how many times your indirect way will help you out, it's going to be a big difference. It's going to be like, let's say, 70 to 30. So that's a pretty big difference. So rook d5 definitely is indirect way to deal. And since we figured out in previous situation, every time when this guy kind of goes away from back rank, you always deal with a back rank problem. Same situation right here. After rook c8, I don't think so you're going to have a chance for you to win this game, because looks like we have issues with back rank. If someone interested, then he could actually try to play this, try to analyze this position, and then get back to me. So it looks like black has no real improvement. Looks like in any line, you are simply having problem. So what to do? What should we do? Let's think about what else could be done by me in these situations. What else could be done by me in these situations? And if you check it out, one of your other pluses here, it's your d pawn, because your d pawn just 3 moves away to become a queen. Especially, we have a connection. So that's the case where your direct ways, it's actually not helping you, because direct, I would say it's a queen b1 followed by queen g6. Direct, it's kind of queen d5, because you understand this is triple battery here, and you would like to shut down one of the battery members. But see, these two continuations never help you out. But again, you have to understand, you do have a D pawn, and D pawn is your strength. What if you try to play this, and then after his capture, you will capture, we have a connection, and followed by D2 idea. Always remember this. See, that's what I said to my students, and that's what actually I believe my vision of calculating a little bit different than the vision which could be described in many books, in many softwares. So typically, in these situations, if I don't see the win after queen b1, queen g6, if I don't see the win after queen d5 or rook d5, but I do see clearly after d3, I can capture, I can make a check, and no matter how white king is played, I'm going to play d2 and defend h7 pawn. So typically, I understand this. Even if I don't see the clear win afterwards, I'm going to go for that. I'm going to go for that because I understand this is the best if I use principle of elimination. And then the rest of the lines, I'm going to find, if it is a win, I'm going to find after my opponents respond. Again, why would I do that? It's kind of saves my energy, it saves my time, because if I don't see with, let's say, most calming, most, let's say, eyes broken lines, which kind of hit your eyes lines, and I don't see any way I can clear my advantage, then I would choose this. Let's take a look at this line. So what's going on here? Well, obviously, white king could go either g2 or h2, right? Let's see what's going to happen here. If white king goes, naturally, I would say we need to consider king g2, because king g2 is supposed to be natural, because like I told you at the beginning, this guy and this guy has connections, and the white queen will control big diagonal. It's supposed to be the main. Now, what else could be here as subject for white to attack? Well, h7 pawn well defended. I guess the only hope for white to remain is to play queen f7. Why? Because we have a hope to play rook g8 check, followed by queen f6 check, and followed by perpetual check. All right, now what we do? What's our move candidate here? How can we play? We have to we have to defend f6 pawn. And again, if we defend f6 pawn by directing way, queen f5, we deal with same threat. And actually, I'm sorry, actually here, I'm going to be in trouble. So queen f5 looks like not working. Then how are we going to defend f6 pawn? What do we do? And what is going to help us in this case, it's very simple. We're going to make a first check. Why it's important? Because you have to understand this. You see, this check, no matter how, again, you can't go to the back rank because d1 check, d1 new queen with check. You have to go to king h2. And now we're going to have connection between this and that. And now we play queen f5. Now we defend f6. Now we defend h7. In fact, the way how I can also explain to you is this. Let's say when you look for that position, guys, right here, before white's move king g2. Obviously, king g2 and king h2, it's some two moves here, and king g2, as I said before, most natural. But if you look for first king h2 as a less natural move, and after this, you will understand what would be white's subject to attack, and you will find this. Pretty much, we talk about transposition here. And if you found that idea, it's going to be help you out to understand what to do after queen b1 check, king g2, d2. You will figure out queen e4 check by yourself. So I guess the only move for white to remain here to continue is going to be king g2, right? d2 and rook g4. So since we understood, all right, why rook g4? Because we have to control this square, and since idea of having this perpetual doesn't work, the only idea here remains for white, simply play for mate. And now I've been saying that in most of my lectures, and I'm going to repeat it. The reason why one of the reasons I would say how tactical operation happening, it's also because having numbers of weak squares as well as numbers of critical squares. And definition, the way how we describe, the way how we understand what is this critical square, it's basically numbers of squares, squares on which numbers attacks and defense are even, let's say even, or for instance H7 pawn could be called here critical because we have one attack and one defense, and as well as any unprotected pieces. And in this case we have these two guys unprotected, and that will help you out to find short tactical operation. Attack, we pick up the rook, we win the game. So that's how you're going to win the game, and that's what's happening here. But white has a last chance here to trick. If you understand these situations, then you're going to figure out one more trick by white. What if in this case, when we deal with after queen b1 check, white will play now smarter. Now they saw the idea rook g4, and they play rook g4 here. Now we don't have here queen h1 check, because queen h1 right here defended that square. So how we do here? How we win here? Well, I guess if we continue to play a queen g1, this king actually can run away. But unfortunately for, I would say, for white, if you think about, let's say for this position, let's think about here what's going on. Again, we have a mating threat in one move. We can't defend by rook because it's going to be perpetual check. We don't have queen h1 check. I guess here we simply will use principle of elimination. And by understanding what's going on, we're going to play here queen g6. And after, let's continue this line a little bit. Here. We only need to figure out if we have a chance to escape. Again, guys, whoever has a time and like to play calculation, like to calculate from the beginning and has a time to think, then go ahead, try to do this from the beginning to the end. But in the real situations, most of the times you don't have much time to make a decision. And you don't need to you don't need to calculate this position from the beginning and see if you have escape. But if you reach this position, then you're going to understand, okay, what could be our pictures for our escaping? Well, I guess it's king on h2. And I guess if this guy attacked by h5, I need to be able to cover by playing something like queen h5. Let's see if we can do that. After queen h6, we're going to play here. We're going to play here. And as we see, white queen pretty quickly run out of checks. Well, I guess this is the most trickiest check for us to see. After king h1, one more check. And that's it, because g4, I'll take by queen g4. White queen runs out of checks and game is over. If white plays here queen h4 check, we're going to play here queen h5 and game is over as well. So how we solve the problem? Again, if you go back, you will understand the principles. We've been trying to first, obviously, defend g7 pawn. And we saw direct way never help out. We found three move candidates right away. We found queen b1, queen g6, we found queen d5, we found rook d5. But then, when we understood all these three move candidates didn't work out, right? We actually found another indirect way for us, which, again, we found the idea queen b1, queen h7, protection, but we also understand we need to use our strength. We need to use our d4 pawn. And seeing this, because we saw the original idea, and then seeing that should be enough for you to make a decision. Again, guys, this is called, obviously we talk about move candidate as well. It could be somehow talking about like rational way of thinking. It's really important for you to understand, should you take your time and see the line all the way through, or if you see this and you understand the rest is trash, rest cannot be applied, just trust your instinct, trust your calculation, use this, go ahead and play. So this is very important lessons for you, and I hope you will understand these principles. And again, if any questions, get back to me. I'll do my best to answer to your, let's say, comments in our live blog. But I hope you really follow what I'm trying to say to you here. So all these tips, it's really important for you to apply. So we're going to have this calculation series for a long time, and I hope all my puzzles, all those famous puzzles will help you out to improve your calculation, to improve your inside thinking process. So again, I hope you understand all those things, all those tips, and we will talk about, as I said before, we're going to talk about all this technique of calculation in our future sessions, in our future lessons. And follow me, and you will see me next time, different version of this series. I hope I'm planning to have as more as you will request. All right, guys, so thanks for your time, and I'll see you next time. Take care.